the typical PC gamer is not going to be getting 60 FPS outside and remastered right now, and I do think that that's relevant. I would definitely steer clear of the remaster at present, given the current performance, and I would take a look at buying a copy of OG Oblivion and modding it like I have. We are in Remastered, so I'm using a 3060 Ti, and I'm using probably an outdated old 6-core processor running at 3.8 gigahertz. And everything's set at low, so you probably already know this isn't going to look very good. And I even have FSR on with frame generation. Alright, so we're actually in Remastered. This is the best I can get my FPS. You know, around 65, let's say, on average. Maybe, I mean, it's at 68 right now, but if I start turning around, we're getting to 55. Everything feels very smudgy. Not just in looks, but I should say it feels unresponsive when I'm moving my mouse. Let's turn frame generation off. And now we're actually looking at 40 FPS with frame generation off. Still feels pretty bad. I am hitting like 60 something FPS, but that's with frame generation. This is not acceptable to me for how laggy everything feels with the mouse. Alright, so this is nighttime. The lighting looks really cool here, even on low. I mean, look at that. To me, that looks really nice. And that's a pretty big step up from the OG lighting, right? That's like the worst the lighting can look, and that looks pretty cool. And look at this well, right? This looks super duper pretty, right? I mean, and this is on low, so this is pretty. I would play this game on low. I would totally play it, but it feels like dog poop. Even though I'm hitting 60 FPS, I think it's the frame generation. But as it stands right now, I would rather play other games, which I will show you what I would rather play right now. This is the way OG Oblivion looks. Now, I will say right now, I did mod this game for several hours, and I have a specific mod list I can link to you if you're interested. This game right now is feeling buttery smooth, even though it's not actually running buttery smooth like on the FPS counter. It's hitting 85, but it's also dipping, right? Everything feels like just crazy smooth. It does not feel stuttery. And I'm not going to pretend, there you go, there's one stutter right there. I'm not going to pretend like there are no stutters, because there are stutters. There are all kinds of things in this game that just make it feel buggy and weird. I would say this looks more consistent than remastered on low. So let me go ahead and wait for the day. But yeah, let me just show you what the sky looks like here for a moment. Thanks, buddy. I'm going to move away from him. So here's pretty much a similar scene to what we were looking at before. Obviously, this is so much more old school. The reflections are pretty nice. To me, this anti-aliasing looks good because it's sharp and detailed. There are like jaggies still way out there, but I don't know. To me, I'd rather have a little bit of jaggies, but like everything doesn't look like it has a sheen on it. We are outside of a town, and we can see some white pretty clouds and some red trees. And I'm assuming this area looks absolutely gorgeous in the remastered version. But this is the OG. It's got some pretty colors, very poppy, very vibrant. I'm not really seeing people acknowledge how poorly remastered is running on my hardware. Obviously, if you don't like the remaster, you can just go play the original, and that's what I'm gonna do, so I guess I am this guy. Most people don't seem to have the hardware to run the remastered version, and so I'm just afraid that like a lot of people are going to buy this game on Steam, play until they get out of the sewers, and then find themselves in an unplayable mess, essentially. I also wanted to point out something. This Reddit guide I used to try to get a much more playable frame rate. And so I'm assuming because this person was able to get 80 FPS, my CPU might be the limiting factor in that, because I actually have a better graphics card. There's also a engine.ini modification here on the Nexus, and I can link this stuff in the description. And I did have that installed when I was showing you the game. Obviously, my setup is not ideal, but it does appear to be pretty close to the average PC gaming setup these days. So you can see from the minimum specs, my CPU does not actually cut it, but my graphics card and RAM do cut it. But again, if you look at the minimum requirements here for remastered, and then you look at what the typical PC gamer has, at least according to Steam, the typical PC gamer is not going to be getting 60 FPS outside and remastered right now, and I do think that that's relevant if you're someone who wants to play Oblivion and you have the average Steam hardware setup, according to what I'm showing you here, then I do not recommend you get remastered if you're someone who needs their games to run at 60 FPS outside, at least without frame generation. I would wait for remastered to have performance updates that make it run much better, or perhaps modders to save the day and make further improvements. Or if you want an alternative to remastered, there's, of course, the original Oblivion. And if you do want to mod the original, which you don't need to mod it, it's a perfectly fine game, it's super fun. But if you do choose to mod it, this guide is one that I used, and I've been really happy with it.